Good evening, and thank you for watching my videos. This is my third video of the evening. It's Jeremy Clarkson has launched a fresh attack on Zach Polanski as he's ripped into his key policy, staggered by the Green Party fella with bad teeth. Because basically he's not entirely happy with the fact he's wanting to legalise drugs, and obviously I'll go into the full story now for you, because obviously, from a sane person, I can understand why he's not happy. Because obviously, it says here the Clarkson farm star has laid into the Green Party stance when it comes to legalising drug use. Because again, most sane people think it's stupid to legalise all the drugs, because obviously, if you legalise heroin, for example, it's just going to cause more people more issues, and obviously more people hooked on the substances. It's not going to help anyone in the long run, and I just think Zach Polanski's mad. But then again, obviously, I think he's a few screw looses upstairs. Obviously, as it says here, Clarkson has launched into the fresh public attack on the Green Party leader over the political party's stance on decriminalising the drug use. Polanski has been vocal advocate for reforming Britain's laws when it comes to the drugs. Just earlier this month, the plans for the party to hold a vote whether it would legalise heroin, and again, I think that should just be pushed out of Parliament and not even have a vote on it, because it's not even worth voting on, because I don't think many of the other parties will go for it. He even appeared on BBC's Laura Kuenssberg a few weeks ago, claiming that a ban on hard drugs had been radicalised. And this is again where I hate where he's going down the route of it, because he's blaming the fact of, oh, because we're saying it's only blacks take drugs, or only the immigrants take drugs, and then saying it's racialised and stuff like that. It's not. It's nothing to do with racialism or anything like that. Yes, a lot of that side of people do take the drugs, but you can't just say it's racialized or anything like that. It's just him picking up on these words and using them and going with them to throw them at other parties and things like that. I think he needs to stop it, because and then use it as an issue to then try and legalize the drugs. No one's going to go down that road with you. Because on the same show, he said there should be a public health approach, but then if you're going to use health as it, keep them banned, because obviously you'd end up with more upheaval on the NHS, because the NHS is at breaking point as it is, without more people in the NHS with drug problems. Does he not see that? Obviously not. He's blind, deaf and dumb. But when Miss Kuenssberg put him on the spot as to whether he believed that his stance on drug use was an okay message to send to young people, Mr. Polanski replied, "I think the danger is happening right now, which is where we're pushing it into street corners and the black market," which again, it wouldn't make any difference, because it would just make it easier to get hold of, and then everyone would be doing it all the time. Mr. Polanski has also claimed to have never taken part in drug use or even consumed alcohol. So where's he got an opinion on this? If he hasn't ever taken the stuff, I'm sorry, or even drank alcohol, he shouldn't even be pushing it as a campaign. His stance on the issue has resulted in condemnation from a number of his political opponents and public figures, including the aforementioned Mr. Clarkson. In his latest newspaper column, Mr. Clarkson has slammed Polanski after he delved into how Gen Z are increasingly turning their backs on alcohol in favour of marijuana, which again, they'd be better having a couple of pints over the marijuana, because it's easier to get hooked on the marijuana than it is a couple of pints. As a pub or brewery owner, it's an issue. Mr. Clarkson has a first-hand experience of feeling the repercussions, because he does own a pub now. While he admitted Rachel Reeves is responsible for most of the issues when it comes to the problems facing the industry, so he does have a comical side. He explained that those 28-year-olds who believe they survive on water alone aren't exactly helping, musing about why the younger generation have decided to snub beer. Mr. Clarkson said, well, obviously, health is now an issue because someone with pink armpit hair and Keefe recently decided that if you go to the pub with your mates and have a couple of pints and a laugh and maybe a kebab on the way home, you become a red-nosed Tory, which is completely bull because obviously that just doesn't happen. It's not the way life goes, and it never did. Because you could go down the pub, have a couple of pints, and then have the kebab, and it doesn't turn you whichever way in politics. It's just having fun with your mates. That's all it is. However, he pointed out that the cost also plays a part, which is where reform come in, because when we get into power, we're going to bring the price of pints and stuff like that down, help the breweries, and help the pubs. And because obviously that's obviously affecting this Gen Z, and that's why I'm not a huge fan of this new Gen Z. They're an awful bunch. So what's the alternative for Gen Z? Mr. Clarkson pointed out these kids say they haven't lost the desire to get the buzz with their mates. They've simply worked out that weed costs a hell of a lot less than going to the pub, and they do have a point. So obviously Clarkson does see both sides to this, but obviously weed is more addictive, which is worse. But turning to marijuana comes with its own risks, which he does point out there. According to Mr. Clarkson, when I was at school, no one had mental health issues, correct? Today, you're weird if you don't have a mental health issue of some kind. Again, because most people these days do come out of high school or university with at least one or two mental health conditions. And last year, 10 million employees claimed they were suffering from something with a modern acronym. 1 in 5 snowflakes, I do love his usage of snowflakes, and Gen Z kids actually took time off because of it. And every year, the cost of the economy is reckoned to be 57 billion. Mr. Clarkson went on to claim, therefore, that when people went to the pub to enjoy a pint after work, largely happy, but those who've turned to drugs nowadays go home in floods of tears. He really hits the home, doesn't he? He did caveat that he wasn't entirely certain there was a connection, since his own disdain for marijuana means he's rarely able to be in the same proximity of those enjoying it. And I understand what he's meaning there, because it's the stench of it, because obviously it does smell vile. However, he did point out that there have been some experts who cite statistics across the pond in the United States who suggest that smoking strong strains of cannabis can result in a higher rate of violent crime. Again, that is correct, because you do see higher rates of crime where people are on these drugs. But then obviously Polanski denies all this because he's thick. Therefore, Mr. Clarkson admitted he was staggered to learn Zach Polanski has advocated for the legalization of drugs. It's because he's got the IQ of a peanut, that's why. Or, as Mr. Clarkson put in the Sunday Times, I'm staggered really to hear that the Green Party fellow with bad teeth and a silly walk saying he wants to legalise it. We should do the exact opposite, correct? We should do everything in our power to dissuade people from smoking it, and we should start removing all the taxes on pubs and breweries so that the healthy, friendly alternative that they offer becomes more attractive than ingesting a foulness that makes you violent and boring. Again, correct. It's not the first time Mr. Clarkson has publicly ridiculed the Green Party leader. Back in November, he branded Polanski a snaggletooth vegan over his party's tax policies. Again, I 100% agree with how Clarkson labels him, because obviously he just doesn't understand the real world, and he never will. And obviously, also in October, Clarkson admitted he was amused by Polanski and his pink-haired fans due to the alleged misconception of British billionaires. Again, he's completely out of touch. He'll never be in touch with the true real world. So obviously that's Clarkson's take on the how he takes on drugs and stuff like that. So obviously I wouldn't take that with a pinch of salt, because it'll never get through Parliament. It'll never, well, the Green Party will never get into uh, physical Parliament, as he'll never be Prime Minister. He'll probably never even get a seat in Parliament, let alone anything, because that's why they didn't put him into the seat running in Gorton and Denton, because he's scared of losing. And then I've heard from people who are members of the Green Party go, "Oh, but we're waiting for him to get a seat in London. Wait for him not to go for those seats because there'll be like an 80% chance of loss to us." And they go, "Oh no, we can't go there because he'll be beaten by Reform." You've got all that to come, and then he eventually doesn't get a seat. But I'll leave it there for this video. But again, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.